In case you cannot sleep thinking about how to finish the exercise I proposed, I'm gonna show it here, finished. So let's do it together. I'm gonna copy this line into every line here. So I will reduce here the possible width. So we get a width maybe between 50 and 150, and also a height between 50 and 150. And let's leave for now the X and the Y between 0 and 200. And we've seen that if we use the same noise function here, noise of A, it's gonna be less interesting. Let's see it working, but it's gonna be moving diagonally. So they should differ a little bit inside here to get a more interesting effect. So one way we saw that is maybe to add something to each function here. A plus 10, plus 20, plus 30, and plus 40. And now it's gonna be moving in every direction, and it's gonna be changing the width and the height also randomly. And we get this quite interesting animated effect. Now, to make it even nicer, we could think about these values here. Why actually use here between 0 and 200? Let's see how this is working here. We are loading an image like this, and we want to randomly pick part of this image to be shown on our screen. It can be this one, it can be this one, maybe it's a long one or a tall one, doesn't matter. So to pick one of these rectangles here, we are picking up this point, the X distance from the left border, the Y distance from the top, and then how wide this rectangle is and how high this rectangle is, how tall. So we are creating 4 random numbers. That's why we are creating X, Y, width, and height. Now, we don't want the X to be too far on the right. Otherwise, we could be trying to get a block that is half out of the screen or completely. If we would pick a number that is greater than the width of the image, then we could be getting out of the image. And we don't even know what's the width of the image yet. So this we can find out. I'm going to show you how. There is a variable called photo.width. We have used width before. Width is the width of the screen. So photo.width is the width of the photo. And photo.height is the height of the photo. We can print these variables. Let's print here, print ln, the first variable, and I'm gonna print the second variable. And let's run this. Well, okay, now it's doing it a million times. Every time it's calling draw, it's printing the width and the height. But we just need 2 of them. You can see that the width is probably 374 and the height is 562. Okay, so this is already useful information. We could use here photo.width. So we get a number between the left border and the right border. But we've seen that this would be already too far. We don't want to get a rectangle that starts at the right border. We want a rectangle that ends at the right border. So how do we know about this point here? So this point is the image.width, or we call it photo.width, minus something, minus the width of the rectangle. And we have the width here. So what we should do is move these 2 lines up. I'm gonna press Ctrl X to cut this line and Ctrl V to paste them here. So now we are randomly creating some width and height for a rectangle. And then to pick up a random position, I'm gonna take the width of the image minus the width of this rectangle we are drawing, this width here. So we are randomly choosing a number between 0 and this point here. Okay, this way we will never get out of the image on the right border. And we should do the same thing with the height. I'm gonna say here photo dot height minus the height. So again, we know this is the height of the image. And if I subtract the height of our rectangle, is this rectangle here, then I also avoid getting out of the screen on the bottom. We don't want to pick up an area like this. We want this or higher. So I take this number, the height, minus this height. So now I'm picking a random number between the top and this point here. So let's see this working. And now it should be moving around anywhere in the photo, avoiding getting out of it. And we get a quite interesting effect. It looks like a drunk cameraman. And don't worry if this is a little bit hard to understand at the moment, how we are calculating this width here, but after we do many examples, then it should be easier.